Dakle, moje ime je Ivana Јелачa, radim za Media Diversity Institut i zaista mi je drago da sam danas ovdje. Uvijek je zadovoljstvo razgovarati o medijskoj informacionoj pismenosti koju zaista smatram ključnom veštinom 21. veka. But now I will switch to English. I think it will be better for all of us. Well, as already mentioned, I work from the Media Diversity Institute, and we are international NGO that works internationally to encourage and facilitate responsible media coverage of social diversity. And when I say that, I think diversity in terms of ethnicity, religion, age, gender, disability, sexual orientation, and gender identity, etc. So we work to eliminate stereotypes and prejudices in the media and encourage those kind of eliminate those kind of narratives that could foster divisions in society. The Belgrade-based office, MDI Western Balkans, is very much focused on media information literacy for young people. And there are three critical skills we think are crucially important as from this media information literacy, which is much broader term, and this is critically understanding media contents, being able to find information and access different information in order to evaluate those information provided in the media, and also to produce media content. And in terms of marginalized community, this is particularly important because it can increase the visibility of those communities. There's no need to talk about the backgrounds in the region, but I need to highlight that the societies in the Western Balkans, Macedonia and Serbia as well, are still in transition, and democracy is not in place yet. And one of the aspects of that is the fact that the freedom of expression is still endangered. Our work of MDI is focused on two human rights, and this is freedom of expression and access to information. And I think young people are not in position to exercise neither of the two, and this needs to be addressed. And when we talk about media information literacy, we very often speak about young people, and this is the case today. But I would like to remind that youth is not the vulnerable audience. And as I already mentioned, Ofcom has done some research, and we're talking about the UK and much more mature democracies. And one of their researchers showed that adults, as much as young people, cannot sometimes differentiate certain kind of information, and, for example, do not differentiate between the ads that appear on top of your search from the genuine search results. So this is one of the reasons why non-formal education is also very important, because it targets all age groups. And while coming back to civil society, what can we do in order to address media information literacy? I think the starting point and the very important thing is to promote active citizenship, and the idea of citizens being involved in democratic and decision-making processes. It's very important that citizens recognize civil society as a channel to communicate their opinions and problems, and to use it as a tool to reach the institutions, the governments, and to address the problems they face on a daily life. And I think this is the starting point. I think in the societies in the region, the human rights are still not recognized, and I think citizens still need to be educated about what are their rights and how to seek for them. The other way for civil society to be actively involved is advocacy. And when we speak about media information literacy, I think it's very important that civil society is included in advocacy campaigns to make media information literacy part of the school curricula. And we already discussed a lot about that, but I would mention a blog I recently found, and it combined a different research which was related to media information literacy and health issues. One very interesting finding was that media information literacy was very related to the body image of young people. So, for example, teenage girls who were more media information literate were less likely to be dissatisfied with Civil society organizations recognize media as a tool to send their message across to a broad audience, to increase the visibility of their work, but also in terms of the social diversity, which is the focus of MDI's work. We have done such workshops with a civil society organization working with marginalized communities. By increasing the visibility of their work, civil society organizations are also increasing the visibility of different marginalized community, which is very important for the intercultural understanding and intercultural dialogue. And of course, media need to recognize civil society organization as a source of information and the source of expertise, which civil society organizations are indeed. And finally, I think the civil society organizations have a very important role in educating citizens. And this is through different non-formal education programs. It is through workshops, training. I think the peer education approach is very important. This is something we try to implement in Serbia right now. I already mentioned our approaches, but I would still highlight once more the importance of citizens being able to produce their own media contents. MDI has done something like that, for example, with young Roma people in UK, and teach them how to use multimedia tools and how to make them more visible and even approach the mainstream media, which is something, again, which can contribute to visibility of different marginalized communities. And I would finally, for the end, mention our project Get the Trolls Out, because we see hate speech as a very problematic, and we try to address it. And the Get the Trolls Out was a project that was focused on anti-Semitic hate speech. However, this is something we try to now translate to the Serbian society and address hate speech in our online environment. And this project was about finding the examples of hate speech, but also decomposing these narratives and helping citizens be aware how they should read these narratives and how they can critically reflect on them. This project also, which is I think very important, promotes the idea of non-violent dialogue. Through this project, MDI has developed a small self-defense guide which helps citizens actually decompose hateful narratives and understand why this is not a way to communicate. And finally, through this project, MDI has come up with the small tips, we call them, to counter hate speech. And this is very important because it's done it is designed in cooperation with Twitter. And it is a very important example of collaboration between a profit and non-profit sector. But also it is because it's very simple and can be easily shared with a broad audience and help them be aware of the hate speech as a problem and also able to defend themselves from the hate speech when targeted. And of course I would end here now. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.